I'll message that to you just so you got that. Yep. Hey everyone, and welcome to Grenades and Horseshoes, where we strive to bring good times, good feels, and general shenanigans every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Oh, hi. How's everyone tonight? This is episode 16. For real this time.
For real
this time. I am Mark Square. This is Greg Goes 2E.
Good evening, everybody.
And this is Yuna Lala.
Hi.
Hi.
I can still hear the music.
Yeah, no,
Yep, we got to talk over it now. This is the new. It fades out slowly.
Yeah, that's a great jam.
Dramatic effect.
What was the week in Destiny like for you guys? I had a good time. I played some Destiny this week, which is not necessarily what I always do every week. That's been taken for granted for a while, and then I took a couple of weeks off. Although I did learn a killer recipe for curried squash soup, and I came up with my very own grilled cheese recipe that involves beer cheese and sharp cheddar, and then Romano cheese on the outside, and then put it like in a sandwich press. Oh, it's so good.
Mark Square, I am very interested in your culinary skills, but that is a terrible way to start your week in gaming.
Cooking is a bit of
but here's the thing: it's like he's like leveling his crafting because he can't cook.
That's true.
So, like,
it makes me think of Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, or the Zelda game where you had to put ingredients together to make things. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's like that. I'm crafting. Yeah, I'm crafting the ultimate grilled cheese. So I had some like jalapeno Havarti as well that I just shaved a thin. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's talk about games. I did do my planetary challenges this week. I did them with Quick Fang only, and Quick Fang. I did it. I loved it. It was so fun. I mean, I relied on blueberries and other guardians quite a bit, but I mean, it was great. You know, you can even get precision hits with your Quick Fang. You got to cut the Vex around the middle. You know, you just got to kind of get in right in the middle there. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So what about you guys? What was the week in gaming like?
I'll go. So like I did, I played a lot of Final Fantasy 14. I got my my real character over on the right realm, and I played a lot of her, and I got my Red Mage class unlocked, and I got some cosmetic stuff, some quests there. But I did play Destiny this week by myself. But that's okay.
We tried to get you to raid with us, and you said, you said, and I quote, "I hate you guys." No.
No. Oh my God, I miss you guys so much.
I know. It's been really bad.
It's so bad. I ended up, I was going to be late, and I knew I was going to go, and then I ended up working later than I even planned on top of it. So, but I did manage to play a little bit of the faction rally. I did pledge New Monarchy.
Yes. Yes.
I know. I feel bad. I feel like I betrayed my future World Cup, but I really wanted the sword, and I really wanted some new shaders. Those shaders look amazing.
They are fantastic.
And I only got a few, and so I'm gonna really hoard them.
Yeah.
But I did manage on my very first package get the cloak, and I know I was complaining about cloaks last week, and let me tell you, this one's a cloak, and I'm so happy with it.
So the fashionistas out there will be happy that the new Monarchy cloak is in the game. Yeah, we talked. This is actually round 2 for those that caught the earlier part of the stream. We had an audio issue, but we were mentioning before how, in my opinion, I think that the reason why New Monarchy won this time around is not because everybody wanted this sword so badly. The sword, in all honesty, it's okay, but it's not a fantastic sword. It's high impact. It's got a low swing rate, and impact on swords, unless you're doing some crazy PvE content or doing dogs, is really not the most important aspect. In PvP, a low impact sword is still going to one hit kill you.
Yeah.
So
quick bang.
If you're doing it for the weapon, Future War Cult is where you're probably going to go. I think what's more likely is that grenade launcher was so bad, and all grenade launchers are so bad in the game right now, that Future War Cult just, it's really hard to justify going after that grenade launcher. And
well, no, Dead Orbit was the grenade launcher.
What's that?
What?
Dead Orbit was the grenade launcher.
Or I'm sorry, I misspoke. Dead Orbit, that grenade launcher.
And they were going to be first. The new Monarchy is number 2.
New Monarchy last time was number 2. So they, I believe that, that's why they got a little bit of a bump. If you're doing it for the weapons, though, I mean, Future War Cults has still had the best weapons each time around.
I know,
they do. You
know what it is, though?
What?
And I do love the colors of Future War Cult because I like being bright, and I like the, just the juxtaposition for the colors.
Mm-hmm.
They made them dark and dingy.
Yeah.
I like truly believe, and I truly believe that, fashion rules all.
Yes, I agree.
Yes, because I only pledged to New Monarchy because I wanted some of the gear and the shaders and the cloak. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, Future War Cult all the way.
Well, Future War Cult has the recovery set. Hey, welcome everyone in the chat, by the way. Hey, Joe, Average Joe 227 in the chat. Thanks for stopping by. Does a lot to support the Destiny community. Kudos. But they have the armor set that you want as far as like practicality in the game is Future War Cult as well. That being said, I do like the Future War Cult shaders this time better. Especially like not even in the menu, but like when I see someone wearing them, like in the game world itself, I think they look far superior to what they look in a menu. For what it's worth, like just hang out with people in the tower and look around, and then like, hey, that guy looks great. What's he wearing? And usually, if it's that kind of in a color range, there it is Future War Cult. So, but I am proud of the new Monarchy for winning, of course. And I had another theory on that. I think all the swords are pretty. There's no shaders on swords for some reason. I'm not really sure why. But that makes the new Monarchy sword stand out like as the most beautiful sword in the game, most likely. I would say. I mean, that's fair to say, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, like it, has like the logo on it and everything.
I don't know. The raid sword is really cool looking. Like it's super funky. It's not even like a normal sword.
It looks like a bat. Yeah.
It's
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I finally got it.
Like it looks kind of Final Fantasy-ish in how broad and heavy it looks, but so that kind of it doesn't seem like it fits as well in the game. That new Monarchy sword, though, it's painted red, and there's not red typically on the surface of your sword, even after you have laid into a Cabal or another Guardian, right?
T for teen.
T for teen, no blood in the game. That's the closest in Destiny that you're going to see any red on the edge of that sword is the new Monarchy
violent
sword.
Reasons.
That's I mean, when you see like the gas and blood spurting out of Cabals when you shoot their heads, which is super satisfying. And they drop like
that
grape.
Is very satisfying. Yeah.
You guys are both terrifying me right now.
Yeah. I did pick up the sword partly just for collector's reasons. I don't use swords. I'm actually terrible in PvP with a sword. My wife, Hefty Flounder, is scary good with a sword in PvP.
Oh, really?
She is that player that crouches in a corner and waits 5 minutes for that one person to come around and then, just scares the crap out of them.
Yep.
And her KD ratio when she has a sword and heavy ammo is incredible. Not a lot of kills, but she gets kills KD. And she doesn't die a lot because she's hiding in corners a lot.
Awesome.
And that's how she likes to play with the sword.
Well, she used to love shotguns too in Destiny 1, and that was like her thing, like cat and mouse, like really like high risk, high reward, up close engagements. And I think people are starting to understand too that there is more power ammo on the map than you think if you're planning around it. If you're going,
there is actually.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
So I spent my 50,000 glimmer on my Titan last night. Mark was there. He laughed at me as I went from 50,504 glimmer down to 504 glimmer.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Then we went raiding without our dear Unalala, and it was fun. It was a blast. I think people are getting the hang of the raid. It's becoming a little bit less tedious, a little bit more of a sure thing. So I really, really enjoyed that. In fact, our segment this week is a clip from one of the door openings that was really, really fun to do. I've had a good week in Destiny. I did a lot of challenges with the Quick Fang only, and that was fun. I'm having a good time. I'm especially excited about this week's today. In fact, we had big announcements from Bungie, reveals for the Curse of Osiris. I love the roadmap for many, many reasons, and I am excited to talk about it. But maybe we should move on into our first segment, though, which is Yuna's Musings, so that we can get to the heart of the matter this week, talking about that Curse of Osiris thing. But last week, Yuna started a game. We ran short on time, and this is a game that apparently...
Uh-oh.
Oh, Mark, we lost your audio. We got to get you back.
Oh, yeah, but he froze.
Test.
You're back.
There you go.
Okay. All of my friends I told that are girls, have you heard of the game MASH? Everyone was like, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, wait, seriously?
Yeah. And I'm like, I'd never heard of it. Okay, so let's... I'll turn the...
And last week, right, as you were going to say, last week I played, and even the title of our episode came out of it because I guess my spouse
so good.
is Callus. And after a week of being
The
married
real
to Callus, I can tell you the guy's relentless.
The real hound. Is that why you're sitting
He's like
forward?
a robot.
Would you say he's very demanding with his class?
He's like a robot.
He's like a machine. Well, kudos for sitting down. Like, this is progress.
Wow.
The stream just became not T for teen. So Mark's in the hot seat this time. He has to suffer Yuna's circumstance here.
Yeah. Okay, so explain what MASH is, just in case case people don't know.
So what MASH is, MASH stands for Mansion, Apartment, Shack, and House. And this is a game that preteens and teens play, or at least my generation of preteens
and 30-year-olds, I guess.
Played, and it was, we would, ask questions and put down like our favorite answers, and then we would go through, and through like a number game, we would pick out what our fantasy life would be. So last week was hilarious with Gray, and I definitely put him on the spot. So I would say Mark has an advantage because he's been able to ponder this all week long.
I forgot.
So I'm expecting some good things. So it's kind of good because, last week we had like the abruptness of Gray, and now we have the ponderances of Mark. So I'm expecting some gold from you.
You've met me, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever known me to ponder anything?
Yes, actually, more than you think. You just don't self-recognize that.
Oh, okay, all right. So maybe it's going on up here, and I don't realize. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably like you got like little elves in the back of your brain going like.
Yeah, they're in there making cookies.
Yeah, making cookies in the back of your brain. That's what that smell is. Something's burning. Yeah,
something's burning in my head all the time. Mark is the tree from the Keebler commercials, confirmed.
Okay. So let's start. Okay. So the first question is, so this is video game themed, not Destiny specific theme, but any video game. So just get that out there for our new listeners. So, in the world of Mark Square in the future, or in Fantasyland, what video game world would you live in? Top 3.
Okay, top 3 video game worlds that I would want to live in. Okay, I would pick one side scroller, I think, because it's just simpler. Life is simpler if you've got only 2 dimensions. Yeah.
What's your side scroller? Like a Contra type thing?
No, Contra's way too hard.
Yeah, Double Dragon. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, hey Nem.
Yes.
Nem popped in. Hi Nem.
Hey Nem, welcome.
Nem, welcome. Man.
I'm thinking about it. Let's see. There you go. Nem is one of our greatest mods from over on the Planet Destiny channel. He is now a mod on my channel as well.
Ooh.
Oh, I messed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Nem, for looking out for us all the time. So my top 3 things that lands I would live in a video game. Yeah, Ninja Turtles, definitely. The arcade game. Remember the one where you would, you ran across, like, you could walk up and down a bit. Two-dimensional. I loved that. And April O'Neil.
Is that 8-bit or 16-bit? Wow, you got some, like, a big imagination for some, like, 16-bit ladies.
I used to walk up the screen when
Very
playing
blocky.
with Max. With that lady. She kept walking at the top of the screen, just shaking that 8-bit booty. Wait, 16-bit 16-bit booty.
I do believe Golden Axe was 16-bit for the Sega Genesis.
Yeah. Yep, Sega Genesis. Okay. It was one of my favorites as a child. Okay, top 3. So, all right, we've got Ninja Turtles, the arcade game.
Yep.
I'm definitely gonna have to say Destiny because, like, as long as I'm not like a tower casual, I want to be a guardian. I want to have a ghost. I want to be able to not, like, kind of come back and things. So in Destiny as a guardian, and then besides that, man, the other games that I've played on a regular basis, there's not many. Like, there's Skyrim, and that world is brutal. There's Halo.
You don't want to live in Tamriel?
No, I mean, like, and people do some wacky crap. Like, the AI in that is doing some weird stuff. Like,
you want to be an adventurer that took an arrow to the knee.
No, I do not. I don't want to be the guy that, like, teleports incorrectly and just falls out of the sky and dies. I like
you don't want to go around screaming and shouting things off the edge, screaming, Fostrada!
No, I don't know about that one. You've out-nerded me again.
Oh, that's Skyrim. That's, like, literally your first dragon yell. I put hundreds of hours into Skyrim.
I did Oblivion, was the one that I played the most. And then, like, so in that one, it's like, okay, I'm going to fall into a pit that leads to hell, I guess. I was never clear.
You could be an acolyte of Malik Ball.
Yeah, and then the Halo universe is also trashed. Like, everyone's dying all the time, like all of civilization. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pick something happy. I'm going to pick Super Mario, like the Sunshine one, right? Because, like, if I don't like mowing lawns because it makes all parts of me itch. But there's something very satisfying about mowing a lawn.
Thanks for that level of detail, Mark. All parts of it.
All parts.
Yeah, let's talk
Scratch
about
that itch, Mark. Scratch that itch.
Yeah, he's talking about his nose.
I'm just itching right now, just thinking about it. Yeah, Joe, thank you for stopping by. Yeah, absolutely. Check out the audio version later on iTunes, or we do a YouTube one. Podbean, Google Play, and what's the other one that you do?
It's on
Stitcher.
iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher.
Yep. So I'm gonna pick the Delfino one, like the Super Mario Sunshine one, because you get to clean up all that mess. I like that. Okay, top 3.
Okay. There Okay. Top 3 for the next one is, who is your video game life best friend?
Top 3 best friends. So. So do I need to keep the same theme going?
No.
I really don't play many games.
Anything.
It could be any game.
Oh, okay. So I really liked Guilty Spark from Halo. I really liked that. That was great. But I'm gonna go.
Oh, yeah. So is that?
Yeah, Guilty
is that
Spark.
A no?
I'm picking that one. I choose my choice.
Choose your choice.
Let's see. In Mario Kart, there was a shell that I used a lot because I was in last place a lot. It was a blue spiky shell.
Sure.
Imagine having that thing in real life. It's like, I'm the absolute worst.
He's just, like, floating next to you, and you're like, get him.
Yeah, I'm losing at Monopoly. I'd like you to overturn their money bank, and it would just be like. We'd be like sudden winner at Monopoly.
Mark instantly becomes a bully on the show. Jeez.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. And then from there, I'm gonna go. Man, I played Portal 2 a little bit, and you're the 2 robots, right? Like, mm-hmm. And then one of them's like Bert and Ernie robot. Like, there's like a dumpy one. There's like the Ernie, like the sideways, and then there's a Bert one that's like very tall and slender.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And
especially
that's the
co-op component, yeah.
Yeah, which is the only part I ever played, but I would choose one of those robots because they're just like in for it, and they're like good teammates, and it's like, I mean, they're totally both messing up all the time, but they're always like, let's just do this, let's try this, let's keep trying. So That's my.
And I have to redact from last week. I had said that, your friend robot that's throughout Portal 2, and I looked it up this week. It's Wheatley is the name of the character. So I apologize to those who listened and were yelling at me that I couldn't remember his name. Wheatley.
I don't know that those two have a name, do they? Maybe. I have to admit that I own the strategy guide because I was too stupid to do the co-op portion of that game without it.
Yeah, I never played the co-op.
I do want to point out that out of your 3 best friends, you don't have a single,
human,
actual living person. you have an inanimate shell, which it's a 1 use only. So if you could send your best friend, to die.
Well, I think he was clear. He doesn't intend on using the shell. He just wants to threaten people with it.
You don't know me, actually you do, and that's what's scary about this. Move on.
Okay. So next one is weapon of choice.
Okay, weapon of choice out of all the games. Okay, the dual SMGs in Halo 2, literally so fun, just so fun. So that would be one. The other one would be, or the other two. I'm gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna have to choose a Destiny one because this is a Destiny show. I'm gonna say the one weapon I had the most fun with in Destiny 1 was probably Bad Juju, because all these mini games came from it, right? You could try. We did strikes without reloading. There was severe real life penalties if you did reload. You did not want to do it. So I love that. I'm gonna say Bad Juju. Okay. And then let's see. What are some other? I've played so few games. Except I played 16-bit, and then I know. All right,
it doesn't have to be. I just want to clarify. It doesn't have to be from a game that you've played. So even if you haven't played the game, and you admire the weapon, you can still choose that. That's right. Totally valid.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go back to one of my childhood favorite game, Golden Axe. I was a violent child. Mm-hmm. There was if you built up your little potions, you could finally summon a giant dragon, and he would just come along, and he would just be and he would just eat everything. It was great. Fire dragon. That's it.
Fire dragon summon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I love that game, Golden Axe. It was my first experience with combos, not the snack, but the that came later, maybe at the same time. Wouldn't it be wild if my first experience with combos in a game was the same time my first experience with combo the snack happened?
Yeah, that's kind of funny. A couple of years ago, 2 years ago, when we were prepping for one of the Destiny for Rise of Iron, I remember Remy's we're what are we eating for snacks? And people are combos don't exist. I'm yeah, they do. And I went out and I bought combos.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
I have physical proof of combos, and I'm gonna eat them.
They're
pizza flavored.
Yeah,
they were horrible, but I ate them. Combos always look better than they taste.
This episode of Grenades and Horseshoes is not brought to you by Combos. They do not sponsor the show, and we do not recommend them as your gaming snack.
I do.
What about bugles? You can put bugles on your fingers.
Oh, that is.
And you eat them off your finger.
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
Yourself up for injury.
What is next?
Grant is so bored.
Okay. What about your video game vehicle?
Video game vehicle. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to go with the cart from the Double Dash series, because you could take a friend, not a robot, a real life human being, which I also like, not just inanimate robot. Let's see. All right. So that, I'm also going to choose the Warthog from Halo, because I feel I've missed that Warthog in Destiny since the beginning. I don't care if it floats. I don't care what it does. I want to put us 3 in a vehicle at the same time, going places,
Yeah, I want to do that too.
Yeah.
That was one of my dream things that Destiny 2 could have, was a group ship.
Yeah.
I knew it was super pie in the sky and it wasn't going to happen, but I still wished for it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we've actually had...
We'll see it.
Yeah.
We'll see it eventually.
we've had discussions like on the show. Is there a game design reason that's not happening? Which could be. Okay, so all right. So I played very little bit of Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, right? And it had a ship that was basically it was inspired by the Millennium Falcon. Let's face it. You walked in, you had a deck, you had like a gunning area, and you ran around the ship. Yeah, that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the Kodar.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Okay.
Is this supposed to be what I want in real life, or what I? Yeah. Okay, I get real life in games.
This is like your fantasy life. Like,
not
like if you're like playing a video game, like, man, I really want this because it's gonna give me these stats. So you're like, man, if I could like build my fantasy video game life, this is
okay. All right, awesome.
Okay. Now to the best question. Who is your video game spouse?
A video game spouse, man. I'm not picking Princess Peach because she just gets kidnapped. Like who needs
too much
that
work?
Yes. Goodness. I'm gonna say, man, I've not played a lot of video games, and this is maybe a testament to how the video game industry needs to step it up. But I've not played a lot of video games with strong female characters that I would like really want to be my spouse. I mean, like
to my life.
Yeah, like I mean, like give me somebody that's like got some like substance.
You gotta start playing Final Fantasies.
Yeah. I mean, the new Lara Croft games, I think, did a fantastic job of highlighting, a character in that space.
Yeah, we've got to say Lara Croft for sure. Just for, like shorts reasons, badonkadonk reasons.
Yeah, way to go from Wonder Woman, strong girl, good choices to let's talk about the shorts.
Strong females.
Yeah. Games don't have enough of attractive women in just like very little clothing. That's what games don't have enough of.
Okay, that was my vanity pick. All right, the other one, I played a little bit of Mass Effect, right? And the female like lead in that game was like, she had it together and was like super good, like, like strong lady. So I'm going to pick her. I don't even know what her name is.
There's a lot of strong women in Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Was it?
Oh, no.
And was it 1 or 2? Because Mass Effect 2 it was Mass Effect 1.
Yep.
1? Was it Liara?
Yep. Sure.
Was she blue?
No, she was not blue. She was just regular. She was
Liara.
Flesh tone.
I picked Liara.
Was it Ashley?
I don't know.
What was her name? Because like the human female in Mass Effect 1 was a terrible racist.
Was she?
Yes.
I only played for about 45 minutes because there's no co-op in that game. So, but right off the bat, like in the cutscenes and everything, it was like I was impressed. Let's pick someone else now. I don't want. I'm backing away slowly from that. Totally backing away.
Okay, you haven't been, totally criticized for your first 2 picks at all.
Oh no, God!
All right.
I just want to be single. Jesus.
Callus sounds like a safe pick.
I'm gonna pick Guilty Spark from Halo. Move on. I want to be married to a robot.
Okay, well, I can put that in there. Who am I to judge?
Claptrap would be the final one.
Oh, God.
Are you serious?
He's quirky. Come on.
The name alone, the connotation around the name alone just sounds so bad.
What am I going to catch from this guy?
He's like, oh, I love you.
I see how that went to the front of your head, Mark. I see why that went to the front of your mind.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Grace skipped this
one.
I'm gonna have to set this to mature.
Do you want to do this one, which was the vacation spot?
Oh, the vacation spot in a game? Oh man. No. Man, let's see. Vacation spot. That is a tough one because usually in games it's all about war and conflict, and you're like, man, I do not want this kind of drama in my vacation area. Okay. I would say though, okay, so when I go on vacation, I do like to go to places like with lots of plaques to read and teach me facts, and museums and like that kind of stuff. The reveal today, where all those Osiris peeps hang out was pretty cool. I would go there. I would go to Mercury. and check that out. Yeah. Yeah. They're probably pretty good at shooting things too if they're into like that whole Osiris thing. So they could make sure that I could wear my swimming trunks and not be killed.
Okay. Okay, what's the next one?
Okay, vacation spots. Let's see. Man. That is really tough. I guess I've mentioned this before, but Super Mario Sunshine it was like a whole island thing. That would be nice. And then I would say, man, that is really hard because, like I said, it's like video games are not, like if you were to make a peaceful video game, that would be really. Oh, what about the Pikmin planet though? That would be kind of cool. You get some exploration, some hiking there on the planet that Pikmin takes place on. What is that planet? Does anyone know?
I have no idea. I never actually got to play Pikmin.
Well, all I'm doing with this whole thing is I'm just proving my ignorance of all games that aren't Bungie.
You know a lot of game titles, though, and that's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. Who is going to be your video game mentor?
Mentor. Oh, that's good. Nem says Io or Nessus would be beautiful to see. He's right.
Oh, that's true.
Wow.
I was thinking that kind of beachfront world that you go to at the start of Final Fantasy 15 would be pretty fantastic too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what's my current question? I got distracted by all the great answers.
Who is your video game mentor?
Oh, mentor. Okay. Well, it's gonna have to be Yoda always, right? Like he's in games, and then. Yeah, if you're going to go for a mentor, although Yoda's going to tell you what the right thing to do is, like not necessarily what the fun thing to do is. So, man, let's choose a fun mentor that's just going to be like, I think you should blow crap up. Who did that? Seems like Handsome Jack was like that, right? Mm-hmm. And he had that diamond pony. Well, that sounds fun.
Like a terrible mentor. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you can do a lot of evil with Handsome Jack over there. All right, so that's number 2. Let's see. The third one. I'm just going to go with the the butt stallion. That's what it was. Chat.
What?
The butt stallion. That Handsome Jackhead.
The butt stallion?
That whole game, man. Like, oh my goodness.
What
Borderlands
game?
2.
Borderlands 2, yeah. Okay, so let's see. And then the other mentor would need to be an inanimate object based on everything I've done. Ghost, the ghost from Destiny. I'll have.
Oh wait, but Nullbot or Dinklebot?
Oh, it's Dinklebot all the way. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything against the new Ghost, but I was like, everyone was like, he's not like human sounding. I'm like, he's not human. It's cool.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, last question.
All right.
What would be your video game food? Not grilled cheese.
I can make a mean grilled cheese, let me tell you. Let's see. Video game food. Okay, do you guys remember the arcade classic called Gauntlet? And the fun thing about that game was, like, the food, you walked over and it gave you health, but if you shot the food, it disappeared. And people hated it so bad because you would shoot the food and it would die and they wouldn't get their health. So yeah, the food, it was like a big turkey leg. I also am vegetarian in real life, so while I'm fantasizing, let's just like get it like the grossest meat ever, giant turkey leg from Gauntlet.
Turkey legs are delicious, sir. They are not made of ham.
Who's saying this about turkey
Really,
legs?
you've never heard that like urban myth that turkey legs at like Renaissance fairs are actually made of ham? You've never heard that before?
No. These pig people are devious.
It's like a huge thing in the Northeast. It's like a huge. And I keep telling them, I'm like, no, it's definitely turkey, and people are like, no, I swear it's ham.
It's the weirdest thing ever. What a mismatch on the turkey name. Okay. All right. So other foods in game. Let's see. I always was jealous of Yoshi eating all those apples in Super Mario World. Let's go with those. There was a lot of.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
what is he eating?
He eats apples, I think.
Apples. Yeah.
Yeah, they're on shrubs instead of trees, but I mean.
Oh yeah, now I remember.
Hey,
and he sticks his tongue out and he goes.
Yeah, Yoshi pretty much ate everything, didn't he? So I mean, those could have been poison or whatever.
He like ate people. And, like,
yeah, he would eat red shells and then breathe fire.
Yeah, they had an article the other day saying that the animation is actually coded in such a way that Mario is hitting Yoshi in the head, forcing his tongue to kind of spit out. Like, he doesn't want to eat those apples. You are force feeding Yoshi to eat those apples and people.
That's horrible.
It's not actually like the lore behind the mechanic, but the coder coded it in such a way that Mario actually physically is harming, basically, hurting Yoshi to force him to eat.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
I feel so guilty of years of Yoshi abuse.
Well, what's worse is when you jump over a hole and then you're not going to make it, so you jump off of Yoshi and he goes down the hole.
Sacrifice Yoshi.
You jettison Yoshi and you're like, peace, sucker.
Yeah, there's worse things that happen to poor Yoshi, let's be honest. Let's see. I can't think of a third food that's in a game, really.
You got one more. You have to decide.
Okay. Health pack from Halo ODST.
Wow, how delicious.
Military rations?
Yep. That's where we've gotten to.
Okay. So that was the last one. So now we come to the point where I'm going to make dots on the page, and you tell me how long, and then I stop, and then that's going to determine your life.
Okay. Oh, gosh.
So, 3, 2, 1.
Stop.
Wow.
I don't know what any of that does, so I'm just going to say stop. So I don't.
Okay.
To keep you from having to count so much.
So you guys are going to have to talk amongst yourself while I do this. It's going to take a couple minutes.
Okay.
Rhode Island is neither a road nor an island.
So
try concentrating after that.
I think I remember playing MASH like twice in elementary school. And I think we only ever had 4 questions, and they obviously had nothing to do with video games. And I think they usually had to do with, like, you had to list people that were in your class, right? Like, you couldn't just say like, oh yeah, I'd like to marry, Kathy Ireland or something. Like, it had to be like somebody in your class.
So you would be mortified later. So there was like real world circumstances. Yeah.
Right.
What we did is we folded paper and we wrote things on it, and then we asked a number, and you do like this thing with it, and then it so many times, and it gives you these answers, and you unfold it. Yeah. That's what we did.
I'd like to peel back the onion of your mind, Mark Square, and think why, when you thought about marriage, you went to claptrap.
I think it's too deep of a problem to really discuss on the show. Oh man!
I do like the pick though, because I did throw Callus in the mix, and not for physical attraction purposes.
I don't believe you for a moment. No. It looks rather like Grimace, the McDonald's icon Grimace.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. Like it, where he has a Goomba as a head.
Yeah, he's kind of reptile-like creature.
Based on my answers, I'm thinking I might be a closet Nintendo fan, or not even a closet one. Like, I think I might be a Nintendo fan, but I don't realize it.
Okay.
All right, let's hear.
Ready.
Yep.
So you had almost half as many dots as Grace, so this took me significantly faster.
All right.
Okay, here's the life of Mark in video game land. Mark lives in an apartment.
That's true.
He lives in the world of Destiny.
All right.
His best friend is the blue shell, which he can condemn to death at any point.
I wouldn't.
His weapon of choice is the fire dragon summon.
Oh,
a lot of power.
Serious. Yeah, but I don't use that either.
Yeah.
I like it.
His vehicle is the cart from Double Dash, because he can bring along a friend.
Hey, all right.
His favorite food is the Halo health pack.
Oh, damn it.
Well, you can't cook, so it's very appropriate.
That actually is. I'm learning.
Your mentor is Yoda.
Oh, all right. All right.
Your vacation spot is going to be Mercury, where the Osiris people are.
Oh, all right. All right.
And, drumroll please, your in-game spouse is Lara Croft,
Oh,
one actual female.
I am happy about this. I'm imagining myself tearing around Mercury on my double dash cart with Lara Croft in the back, being super intelligent and like professional, and she knows about archaeology and stealing priceless things on Mercury. Yeah, I'm into it. So I don't even. Yeah.
Craig's like,
someone's gonna sleep well tonight.
Oh, Gray is already writing the erotic fan fiction.
G&H erotic fan fiction. If you're interested in contributing to erotic fan fiction of the show, just reach out to any one of us.
Crowdsourced erotic
looking
fan
at you,
fiction.
Ned Plays. Looking at you. All right. I think we should move right along to. Oh, yeah, sorry, Yuna. You got something else?
No, I was gonna say we're done. So I'm not gonna interview myself. That's terrible. That will be boring. So we're gonna move on.
So Yuna, what? All right. Well, I tell you this. The next thing we're doing is a game that only Yuna is going to participate in. Our segment this week called Third Eye. And Gray and I were both present for this. So he's going to play. This is the raid that we, with Sad Hearts, did without Yuna because of her work schedule this week. And so he's going to play the first part of this clip. And you are going to try to guess what happens in the second part using your third eye, which is usually located here or in the middle of the back for dancing.
Yep. And as we say that, I do realize that because we reset the stream, I want to do it a little bit different. All right, here we go.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we're doing Callus here. We are opening one of the doors, best part of the raid, by the way. And I realize, there's a guy here. There's all these white shielded guys. I better punch this guy. But what? Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah,
Did you see all those guys?
That was pretty epically bad. Right at the end of the stream, where the lollipop is just surrounded. We had two down, right? We had two lollipops down there. I see you have no friends helping you clear off that plate.
and you can hear me in the background. Oh my god!
Yep. And the amazing thing, I'm surprised you cut the clip. Does the next clip go into the next part of it?
Yeah, so she has to now guess what is going to happen in clip 2.
Well, let me just tell you,
I know what happened. So Dakota comes, Titan smashes, throws down a couple grenades, and saves the day.
So do you think that we win through and that Mark is not responsible and that we keep both standards? That's what you think?
Yeah, and I think it's all due to Dakota.
Wow. All right. For those our listeners, Dakota Dark is on our Tuesday night raid team, and he is one of our raid Sherpas.
He is amazing. He is amazing. Okay, here we go. So here we go. You see, I am doing this. I'm punching this guy. I can do something. All right, Dakota is coming. What do? Trip mine. Boom. Stagger the guy. Goes down. And Dakota might have smashed.
I know. There was a couple pulse grenades that got thrown. I threw one pulse grenade. Somebody else threw a pulse grenade. Pretty epic to have that many guys around the standards and not have anybody pull it.
I want to play the raid.
Yeah, so we won through. We kept both standards in place. Best part of the raid. Were you in fact watching the stream? You nailed that. That was exactly what happened.
Oh no! I mean, I've been playing with you guys for how long?
You can count on Dakota to be reliable and win and be epic. You can count on Mark observing that bad things are happening, but not really helping. Just talking really loud about what's happening.
And I get that's one of my most frustrating things is when they pull a standard. It gets under my skin so bad.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
I feel especially in the normal mode at our current light level, there's no reason why they should be even getting close. Right. And so when they do actually pull a standard, I feel we have failed as a team. This is not okay.
You're oh, come on.
And so then I overreact, right? And I throw a little pity party there with the raid team. And they're like, holy crap, Gray, man, just cool. It'll take us an extra 3 minutes to get another standard, man. I'm you have failed me, team. You have failed me.
You have failed me.
I'm going to need each of your left pinkies in the mail next week.
Yeah.
All right, so that was our segment Third Eye. Thanks for participating, Yuna, and thanks for just nailing it. I was hoping your answer was going to be, Mark. I see that you're playing on your gunslinger, and I know that you're just going to pop a Goldie and just destroy all those guys, and that's
shots.
why.
Yeah,
six shots
taking out all of them.
Yeah, but when a single shot won't take it down.
Mm-hmm. More likely, both standards are lost. That's what I would have guessed.
There was a lot there. That was crazy. In fact, it gives me an idea for to see how many you could get in that area. Just let them take
that was
right?
a lot.
And just
but there's only that many because I wasn't there to kill them all with my sword.
That's true. Usually Yuna is there killing all of them, and I'm just kind of talking about the latest episode of America's Next Top Model, and she just wins the day. But what we could do is
with the exception of baths, every other area has stairs that lead up to where the standards get placed. A good challenge would be you're not allowed to shoot anything on a stair. You're not allowed to throw a grenade on a stair. Everything has to be off of the stairs before you can engage. And then that closes down the area that you can actually defend substantially.
Ooh, yeah, I like that. You have to wait for them to get to a certain spot.
That would be really fun because then there would be so many, you would just cluster them and just AoE everything.
Yeah. So last night we came up with another raid challenge. We would like you guys in the community to try this one. Gray thought of this, and it's called the Taboo Raid. And the way it works is you cannot say dogs, you cannot say cup, you cannot say axes.
Beast, all the common
beast,
terms. Just like the game Taboo. You have to come up with the 10 most common words that you're going to use for any call out, and those you can't use.
Yep. And then
what
once
about
you use,
if you change it to werewolf or holy grail?
Well, that's the whole point of the game. But once you use it once, you can't use it again. Right?
It gets added to the taboo list.
Yeah. So it's going to get, so imagine you're going through all these encounters that require you to say all of those things. By the time you get to the end, it's going to get ridiculous. It's just a total word game. So that was a great idea. Gray had. So and then, so try that out. Let us know what happens.
We might do it next Tuesday. It might be fun if Mark and I can get our act together and actually put together these lists, and then maybe we'll stream on this channel the actual raid with our taboo. Maybe we get a buzzer that we can sound off with.
I love the buzzer.
That sounds
if you do this
really fun.
With the taboo buzzer, just in case you don't know the life hack, if you hold down the taboo buzzer and you rub it on your face like it's a razor, it sounds like you're using an automatic razor on your face. I mean, bad joke.
It sounds terribly unsanitary.
Yeah, why are you putting something that vibrates on your face, Mark?
that dozens of people are going to touch. Yeah, sounds great. Yeah.
Oh man, it's my buzzer. It's my personal buzzer. Oh god, that sounds beautiful.
Have a big red button.
Moving on.
Mark, could you repeat that statement for the younger listeners here in our audience?
Okay, moving on. This week's Destiny Squared. Is it hot in here? I'd like to talk about the Court of Oryx reveal, and I would just like to start out the segment by each of us. We're gonna count 3, 2, 1, and we're gonna on stream. We're gonna do thumbs up or thumbs down. We'll hold them sideways for now. Okay. Yuna, is there something wrong with your sideways thumb?
No, my earbud fell out.
Oh, you can hear that.
Just leaving us hanging.
I feel like Commodus in the Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Little higher,
okay.
You're not on camera.
So
there you go.
3, 2, 1. Oh, Gray with the reluctant thumbs up. Yuna with the thumbs up, and Mark with the for sure thumbs up. So I wouldn't mind. I made some notes like nerds are wont to do. The reveal happened right during my nap time. I was not happy about that. But so I thought I'm going to maximize. If I'm going to have to stay awake, I'm going to get the details and I'm going to relate them for you guys here on the show. So big changes. 25 will be the new player level. 330 without mods or 335 with mods will be the new power level. Mm-hmm. And Brother Vance will be like the Devram K of the Mercury patrol area. So you'll kind of teleport in there. Yeah.
You think he's going to be Devram K? I think he's going to be more like Asher. I think he's going to be a little jerky to us.
Oh, well, yeah. I was talking. Well, what I was saying was he's going to be that guy you contact.
Yeah.
No one can replace Devram K in your heart. I understand that, Gray. But but yeah. So he's that guy. You contact. It's not just about trials anymore. In other words, he's like there for patrols. Like you turn in all of your planetary materials to him. You get your rewards through him. That kind of thing. And then there are destination weapons. There's actually a board up on the wall inside that area next to Brother Vance, where basically it's Osiris has modified some weapons. And Deej was using one of them in the reveal. Like it had a bunch of wires and stuff. Like he had upgraded it Vex with Vex technology.
Did you count how many nodes there were on that panel?
No, I did not.
I want to say, and I could be wrong, but it's somewhere like around 16.
There was a lot. There was a lot. Yeah. More than hands on a clock for sure. Yeah.
So, I have a confession to make. I had a very long work day today, and my lunch was cut short, and I didn't get to watch the whole thing.
That's okay. We forgive you. I was watching it for both of us, all three of us, studiously. Yeah, so, all right, so then they asked, how do you obtain these, right? Is this during the campaign? They have to be forged, these weapons do. And they're after the campaign, you get optional quests, which is cool. I like that you're getting quests. Right. And then they kind of go out into the patrol area. They look at some of the armor. Of course, you can see Deej using the warlock like he likes to do. The hunter looks fantastic. It looks really cool. Right. The cloak for the hunter has like some kind of like trials or Osiris markings around the brim of the hood.
They're kind of like Egyptian hieroglyphs a little bit, and they said there's this Middle Eastern kind of Egyptian theme that's around this expansion, and so they kind of glow blue. So much of it actually with this, you'll get into it. I know I'm jumping forward a little bit, but you're going through these portals and you're time traveling and you're going to these different locations. And then you have these hieroglyphs too. Like this feels like Stargate, right? Like they just put Stargate into Destiny.
I love Stargate.
That's what we're gonna call this expansion. It's not Curse of Osiris. It's like Destiny 2, the Stargate expansion.
Yeah, I'm into it. Okay, so let's see what else. All right, they did hint at the biggest public event to ever happen in Destiny.
Right.
Ooh.
That's awesome. So also the patrol area, it should be said. Patrol area used to be, we would get one of those. We were like, okay, the Dreadnought came out. That was sweet, right? Like that was the best patrol area. I felt like as far as packing interesting things together in Destiny 1, right?
I wish I could use Mr. Barrow.
Right, yeah. The patrol area for like the Siva infected Earth was great too, right? In Destiny 1. You have to admit, all the Destiny 2 patrol areas far superior to anything we had in Destiny 1. They mean more. Your public events play out there. Your faction rallies play out there. Like a bunch of you do a lot of patrolling. Like that's just the way it is. Like you're there, and it's fun, right? So I'm excited about that. It looks good. It looks fun to play in, like a lot of different levels on, like height levels and change. So anyway, then from that patrol area, you can enter the Infinite Forest. So the Infinite Forest fills the entire core of Mercury, which is awesome. Like it's all hollow in there, and you can go in there and search that. They're mentioning different trees in there, which like spires that look like very technical, and some of them like they mentioned were dark past, dark future, lush future. So like all these different time frames for these different events that you're doing, like you said, time travel, and so all that stuff I really love. I love the overall feel of it too. Like even like in the hub for the Infinite Forest, like it's bright, even though you're underneath you're inside of a planet. It's not dim and dark and depressing. It's like kind of bright. You feel like you're outside still, which I like. If you're going to spend a lot of time in a game area, I always felt like my favorite part of the Vault of Glass was opening it, because you were outside and things were green and it felt nice. And it felt like you were really exercising instead of not exercising like we always do.
Like morning calisthenics.
That's right. Yeah. So that was awesome. Like I loved all that. I don't know if you made it that far in the stream. What did you think, Gray? Like just up to that point, were you happy with what?
few notes that I had as well. And the reason why I was reluctant is, in general, I am opposed to the reveal streams. And I was since Rise of Iron, where I felt like they told us way too much and didn't leave enough for us to just discover on our own. Going in and watching this reveal stream, the reason why I'm actually really happy, there's a few components on here that I want to bring up that I'm glad that I watched the reveal stream, because I might have missed it or taken it for granted if I did it just in the game. So some of it's just straight information, and this isn't what impressed me necessarily, but we do know that we get a 5-level or power level bump. So a little bit of a bump, which I think, you know, corresponds appropriately to the size of this expansion and our current power level. So we're going from 20 up to 25. So it's not
just level,
small little bump in that power level, or in the level. I'm sorry, in level, which is going to indicate to me the amount of content that we're going to have for that journey itself. Right, we're not going up 10 level, we're not going up 20 level. It's not doubling, so don't expect the same amount of content to get from where you are to max level in this expansion. We're going to expect that the campaign part of this expansion is going to get you from 20 to 25. I've now run through the campaign, probably 5 times for Destiny 2, and pretty much clockwork. If I'm not using buffs and I'm not doing a ton of PvP in there, you can get from level 0 to level 20 through the whole campaign, and you get pretty close to the end of the campaign that you're hitting level 20. So just kind of keep that in mind in terms of how many missions or how many strikes and what you expect as you go into there.
1/4 the size of the core game.
Yep.
Right. This is what we could expect.
Honestly, I don't have that big a problem with that being the size of content. Some of it is a little bit dependent on what's next and maybe what some of the replayability is, and we'll get to that here in a second. As far as light level 330 to 335, I think the thing that I'm most excited about is this is the light level that I feel like I need to be and my team needs to be for me to go into the prestige raid and feel comfortable and confident with our ability to execute. Right now is the time that I would need to be with a team that is at better than myself, right, for me to go in there and have a good time doing the prestige raid. And frankly, that's not the experience that I'm looking for. And to go in it with people that are at my skill level in the game is going to make for a very exhaustive experience. I'm going to be happy when it's over. I'm going to feel like we really accomplished something, but it's going to take a lot of practice and a lot of work and just execution with this raid in particular. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to get to 330 as a soft, and then with mods up to 335, and then go in there with our Tuesday night raid group and just kill it at the prestige. And actually, I like that they do this, because I think people like Dakota should have that prestige raid emblem and get to flaunt it during this time period. But you reach a certain time, you reach a certain amount of time where that isn't as meaningful that you have that. And now they increase the light, and it basically makes it easier, right? It lowers the bar of that prestige raid. And I agree with that.
Yeah. Like this week we got the dogs, the good dog emblem, right? I'm proud of that thing. I put it on. Like I always wear like the, the Bungie, the charity one with the hearts. Like, but I actually like for the night, like I changed over to that new emblem that we got. Sorry, Yuna. Like you would love it. Yeah. It's like real tears are coming. Real tears are coming down Yuna's face. This is awful.
Yeah, you're going like this. You're like
a little tiny violin.
Instead of like this, you're like, okay, here's the middle finger.
Oh no, I wasn't doing that.
I'm just joking. I'm joking. I'm totally joking. You just saw like that finger sticking.
We'll get it next time around though.
I just assume it's a middle one.
We didn't really talk about that too much, but to do the dogs challenge is very doable for anybody out there this week listening that's thinking about, can my team go in and do it? Really, the easiest strat is take out 2 flowers, get to 24 stacks, do that twice. You don't have to switch out who's holding the prisms. And honestly, you're probably going to kill your dog even with just 1 phase. Try to hold it off, because if you 2-phase it, getting it at 24 stacks, it's a breeze.
Yep, absolutely. Don't kill any dogs. 24, kill everything on the second run. It was great.
Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, that's easy.
The actual challenge is that
do that
you
by
can't.
Accident.
Yeah, the actual challenge, though, is that if you have the prism, you can't shoot the same flower twice. Well, since there's multiple flowers, if you shoot 2, the next time that they cycle, they're going to be 2 different ones.
Right.
If you end up having to go a third cycle, or if you get more than 2 stacks, you're going to have to switch out who has the prism. And that's how other teams have done it, is they just switch out who does the prism.
Right. Yeah, more well-rounded team, which I think makes for a good challenge. Okay, so moving on.
Wait.
Strike. Oh. Go ahead. Sorry.
So other observations that I thought were significant. First steps to actually forging weapons. And the reason why I say actually forging weapons, more in the traditional sense of what we think of in an RPG of forging weapons. To Bungie's credit, they let us forge our Gallarhorn. Right? If they were to say, like, well, hold on, this isn't your first time forging a weapon. You had to go collect these armor plates and forge your own Gallarhorn and Rise of Iron. The problem with that, every armor plate looked like the exact same little dog face. And how did that actually necessarily fit into what you're forging? Granted, there's lots of little dog faces on there, but for forging, right, there should be variety. You should be picking up, this is the barrel. This is a component that is going to result in some effect that weapon has. And where I feel like this is a better step in that direction, we're going to see with these, what they called capstones, these missions that you complete after you do the campaign to create these weapons, that you have to go into those environments and get materials to bring back. Since they're saying materials, I think these are going to be varied and different, and each one is going to have a little bit of a lore component that it makes sense why this is part of this gun. And then you're going to take them to this forge. As opposed to with the Rise of Iron, you went to a workbench in a mission. You couldn't return back to it unless you were replaying that mission. Here we're going to actually go back to a forge to throw these materials in and generate this weapon. I don't think it's going to be the level of forging that we do see in other traditional RPGs, but they are moving in that direction, and that's a good sign.
I want something unique.
Go ahead, sorry.
I said I want something unique. So, like, being able to, I mean, obviously there's only so many different variations.
Right.
But, something that, I like to make myself. So,
so that you could maybe choices, like where you could choose to go here and forge it this way, or you could choose to go here and forge it another way. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, I want this perk on it instead, or I want this, or, I want rifled barrel, or, I mean, I think that's actually, I think, is a lot more interesting than even just doing mods.
I agree. And then think about it this way.
It's a permanent choice.
It is. And what if it was this? What if it was, there are like 4 steps, just for instance, 4 steps to forge this weapon, right? And there is either a place or maybe even an RNG drop every time you are doing the quest. And it could drop one of 4 things every time. I mean, like, how grindable is that, right? Like, you're trying to get the perfect like hand cannon that Osiris made, and you personally, for your style, want it to have, like rifle barrel, and then like what was that, like quick draw or something, you know what I mean? And so you're gonna have to grind out that quest. I mean, it could take you 100 times to get it exactly the way that you want it. By doing it over and over, they could really fix that way, like where each step of the quest you're like hoping, oh my gosh, let's see if this time I get the drop I need to forge this weapon in the way that I want it.
Right.
Or
I would replay the heck out of it.
Yeah, especially like if the idea is you go into the Infinite Forest, and every week you get a chance, right, to get like a new drop. Even if like maybe the progress of the weapon stops, right? Like you're at level 2, the progress of the weapon stops until you add the next node. You can grind out until you get the node that you want, right? Week after week, you're trying to get the next upgrade for the weapon to drop that you want. That would be great.
Yeah, and I see that as you would actually keep those collected as your materials, and it's just when you go to the forge that you're like, okay, now I want to actually put them in and craft this weapon. But you bring up a good point that maybe they could have a limited number of configurations on these weapons. that you can, instead of you grinding and saying, here's your full new weapon, right? And it's a random roll on what it's going to be, and dismantle that because that's not what I want. Really what it is, it's the components that you're grinding for that you then are making the choice to turn into something. Honestly, it's kind of a sideways of getting to the same end result. But it's a method, it's an avenue, right? An adventure, which is probably more fulfilling than just the random drop, disappointment, and dismantling cycle that we're used to going through.
Yeah, I think
we're still going to have the disappointment of, oh man, I got another, high gain optic glass or something. Oh, this is my 15th one, and I just need the darn barrel in order to get what I want. We're still going to have that if that plays out. But I'd rather have that than just a full weapon drop.
These are the two options, right? The two options are you give people stuff too quick and they quit playing your game, right? They just quit.
Right. Yeah.
Because they've reached the end of it.
Yeah, you're looking at 3 of them here.
Or, we haven't played a whole lot. Yeah. I mean, I'm super into it again. Like, all it took is like one Twitch stream and I'm like, gung ho.
Oh man, anyway. I can't wait to do Iron Banner next week.
Oh no, like so much stuff coming up. So the other option is, okay, you give people stuff too easily, they quit. The other option is, and this is the better of the two, people keep playing and people keep talking. There's a conversation there about how salty they are that they haven't got the perfect grasp of Malik yet. That's a conversation. They might be saying, oh, this sucks, I didn't get this yet. But that's still a conversation, right? They're still playing the game. They're still talking about it. They're upset that they haven't got it, but they're still looking forward to getting it, and they're still playing the game.
And it gives the answer of, why are you still playing this game, right? That comes up in your stream a fair bit of like, oh yeah, we're going to go and run the challenges for the week. We're going to go to the planets. We're going to do the flashpoints, blah, blah, blah. Okay, why? Like, what are you after? Well, nothing. It's just ritual at this point, right?
Yeah.
I don't actually need anything. I don't actually even want anything. And your why could be, well, I just enjoy the experience. Great.
Right.
That's fantastic. The more common why back in Destiny 1 was, I'm going to grind Omnigul because I want the perfect grasp of Malik. And even if I do it for 8 hours and I'm going to get just a handful of grasps, the likelihood that one is the god roll is low. Right. It keeps me in there playing the game and talking about it, and it gives me a purpose to do it. When people are in my chat saying, what are you doing? Running this strike over and over again. I'm trying to get that perfect weapon.
Yep, I agree. So last night, right, we were in the underbelly. You went ahead and hopped off, Gray, right away. Like you didn't fall for that. Getting chests, right? I stayed in there, and after one chest, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like I'd rather stay.
Exotics.
I want those pants for the Night Stalker.
I want
the Orpheus rig.
Yeah.
So I want those, but like, okay, there was a crash outside my window here, right? Like on the main street there, 2 trucks ran into each other. There's sirens, like there's like lights out there. I'm like, I want to watch what's happening out here, right? I want to look out my window and see what's happening, and I want to talk to my fire team here. So I kept losing everyone, right? I had to go to orbit and come back down like 3 times, right? Because I kept getting lost. And then I finally realized, like, you know what? I don't even care enough about the loot to come back in. I'll stay and party and we'll talk. The people, the community, that's why you stay, right? Like that is why. But if the game doesn't have enough grind to it, not enough of the community stays around. So I think that they know that, and I hope
this is something that Bungie, like, they could have. I know they didn't want to have another Galahorn situation, but what if 1 out of every 500 chests dropped an exotic specific raid, whatever, right? This is an exotic raid ship, right? That comes 1 out of 500 chests. You get 3 a week 3 per week per character. So how many weeks? You might never get it, but you're going to keep going in there because you got a 1 in 500 chance that this could be the week. And you're going to be in there with 6 other people that eventually they're going to get it too. And you're going to be like, oh man, you got the exotic raid ship. That's amazing. Yeah. Right. But we know when we go in there and open those chests, there is going to be nothing for us.
Yeah.
Legendary Ingram, exotic Ingram, you're going to get some tokens. I'm not going to turn those into anything that gets me excited about Destiny 2 at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's go on. Strikes. There's a strike menu now. Guess what? Heroic strikes. Yes. Oh, I'm so excited about that. I hope that there's like modifiers and stuff too, but regular strike's still there. Heroic strike's there.
Are you going to do it if they don't do strike specific loot?
Oh yeah, I
Really?
like strikes. I like it because of this. Okay, like the patrols are awesome, but you have to navigate them, right? If you're just hanging out and talking with 2 to 3 people, strikes are great because you don't have to navigate. One after the other loads up and you run through it. You know, it's like mindless. It's like, yeah. All right, locales now. Okay, so there was Fields of Glass, Mercury. It looks like the Almighty is now an explorable space. It's on the map. The Almighty, the ship.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, we know we kind of wrecked that, and they did set the timeline up to be right after the campaign of Destiny 2 core expansion. So what's going on there now? You know, like we went in, we shut it down, but that is a huge area. So rather than discard that, and that's the theme here, right? Like all of this stuff, I feel like we were worried, can they release enough content? That combined with layers, Lair, layer, what they're doing with the raid, I feel like they, you know, people like that's a good one, Onsen. Onsen's in the chat. Mark loves strikes and telling people we can't jump or only use a hand cannon.
Oh, okay. So I do have to call out Onsen. I ended up in the wild with Onsen the other, was it 2 days ago? I was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, it's Onsen. I was like waving. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, we need to get together with Onsen and play again. We haven't played with him in a while. He's been leveling up. He got Destiny 2 late. He's been leveling up. Onsen, we are coming after you. You can be our fourth.
Sounds ominous.
You said you did. You did? You saw me?
Yeah, I was dancing and waving and everything. We were on IO.
Yeah. Well. Okay. So this is what we'll do. If we have a spare raid slot, we will invite you in, or we'll get together and do some Crucible with you or whatever. He might have been AFK. Sometimes he does that. All right. So back to the point. Raid layers. I thought they were saying layers, like a layer cake. But no, layer. Layer. We had this big discussion in Dead Saurus's chat about, is he saying layer? It sounded like one of them was saying layer and one of them saying layer. All right, so it's layer. Lair, like a dungeon.
I've heard the same word 3 times now, Mark. Is it layer or layer? Or is it layer? Is it layer?
Layer.
Underground so
dungeon, right? Why do they call it a dungeon?
Correct. Okay, so what they are doing is they're reusing the assets that went into making the raid and the underbelly, and they're turning them into new puzzles, new encounters with new loot. So same assets that they maximize the amount, you know, the art assets and all of that stuff. They put them together in new ways. We've talked about the live team and how talented they are. And how they take building blocks that the regular team has made, they put them together in new configurations. They're not having to also create the game and the assets. Right. They are basically the creative freedom and the amount of things that they do. I always love what the live team comes up with. So kudos to those guys. So they're doing that way. Every expansion has a layer that's being added. So there's even an empty spot. And expansion number 2 coming out later will also have another raid layer in it. So every expansion that comes out, so that's only one empty spot left. So there'll be, you know, the core expansion, we got the Leviathan raid. Then we've got the first layer will come out with the first expansion. The second layer will also be Leviathan themed. And then after that will be an expansion that comes out with a new big raid in that. So every single expansion will get a raid that way. And they did say that it probably won't be as long as the main raid, but still, it's going to be, you know, when they say raid content, that's why. Like it's the same assets, but reused, new puzzles, even new boss. You know, Brendan designs those bosses. Like, you know, like boss. It's one new boss. Yeah. So like, puzzle
and Deej was pretty careful on the stream. Like, he doesn't want people to come away thinking like you're going to get a full-blown new raid with this expansion, and this was big news, not the next one either.
Right.
And, you know, he's setting a good tone to say we are going to expand your experience in the raid. There's going to be more things to do in your existing raid, but raids, it very much feels like are part of an annual cycle. right? Your big expansions that release every fall, which Activision in their contract makes it pretty clear they want a big expansion. Probably isn't the right word, because I was surprised they called this expansion 1. I thought they were going to call these DLC 1, DLC 2, and then we would see expansion.
They called this expansion 1?
Yep, in the stream, it was in their graphics too. It's everywhere. So I thought that they would hold that term. I thought they'd hold that term for next fall. They would have a full blown expansion like Taken King, and it would have a raid.
They used to call that a comet, right? Like back in the storyboarding and all the early things, a comet was a release that was, the full price of a game again, and a bigger campaign again, and everything like that. So it looks like they're going to keep that up. Bigger release once a year. But I'm excited. Like, honestly, like that roadmap for me. Some people are not. They think it's a cop out that they are. Reusing assets and stuff, but I really don't. I feel like, who cares what it looks like? I am going to, I do realize the only downside is, right, it's probably going to be more Cabal, right? We're going to fight Cabal for a year, as far as the raid goes. But I mean,
we're going to go Cabals to the wall.
Just deep in Cabals.
Wow.
The thing that I like about it from a player perspective, or even more importantly from a consumer perspective, right? I know that if I am a connoisseur of a television show, I'm going to get a new season once a year of that show, right? Love Stranger Things. I was surprised they actually came out with season 2 as quickly as they did, but it sets a tone that maybe every October we'll get a full new season of Stranger Things. I think that they this is not a Stranger Things show, but given how quickly kids grow up, they might have to turn those things out on an annual basis to try to get as much content as they can.
What's even faster than how kids grow up? How quickly Destiny players burn through content.
That is true. But if they
That's so true.
If they set this roadmap as the standard, because Destiny 1, right, they were finding themselves. How long did it take us to develop X, Y, and Z? How quickly can we hire the talent that we need? It seems like they've now developed their partnerships with other studios. They have their staffing levels where they want them to be. That with confidence, I feel like they can say the Destiny experience is a full game, 2 smaller DLCs, an expansion in the fall, so 1 year after the full game got released, 2 smaller DLCs, and then potentially, if it's a 2-year cycle, if they can pull it off, they can do another full-blown game. They might, obviously, they asked for an extra year between D1 and D2. It was supposed to be 2 years between the games, and they did 3. Maybe they extend that out to be a 3-year cycle. But if they can consistently run that roadmap, as a consumer, I know what my expectation is. I know what I'm going to fill my time with, and I'm not going to keep pounding on Bungie to say, give me more content. What are you guys waiting for? What's going to be next? Tell me your roadmap. No, they said it. You know what the expectations are.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I am surprised by the vernacular that they're using because, everyone's like, oh, it's an expansion. I'm like, no, it's a DLC. But now I can't justify it like that. Yeah. But honestly, when you look at the comparable, other games that do some things comparable to Destiny, it's not out of the realm of what we should be expecting. I never expected a full raid this expansion. Now maybe a full raid next one. Yeah. Are we going to get that? Looking at this, no, we're not going to get that. But are they adding to it? Are they changing things up and giving us more content? Yeah. So you know what? I can live with that. And you know what? I would rather wait longer for something of a higher quality than get something just not that they would ever throw anything together, but get something that isn't polished, isn't what they intend, just to satiate the masses.
I agree. And I think what they'll do is, I think this whole thing will be in the underbelly, right? This layer will be the underbelly. And then I think probably the next one will be more opulent, like the original raid. Gives them a little longer to work on it, and it'll be more above boards, beautiful locales like in the Leviathan raid.
The Leviathan is huge.
Yeah. It's a world-eating slug.
I mean, there's a whole city we didn't go into.
Right. right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe this, maybe the patrol area will be on the Leviathan for the second expansion. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's it for my segment this week. Destiny Squared with Mark Square, and one thing that we didn't delve into super deeply is the Infinite Forest. So I think Gray's GGs this week might tackle that a little bit.
Yeah, so for Gray's GGs this week, right before we segue into it, the only other thing I wanted to bring up on my general impressions of the reveal stream, and this is the key reason why I am really glad I watched it, and I would encourage our listeners to go in and watch this. It's a little bit spoilery, I would say, so maybe skip the first, 20 minutes of it where they kind of go over some of the story components. The part of it that really got me excited was when they started talking about they went into the public space, and they told Deej, go jump up on this and look up towards the sun, and they showed the Almighty, right? And here it is up on the horizon, and it kind of made me think about when the raid dropped, and when you're on Nessus, you can look up and you can see the Leviathan up there between the two suns. And
pretty cool.
Yeah. They said, now go and turn around this, and you see the lighthouse. And as I looked at it and I thought about, I had the pleasure of going to the lighthouse once in Destiny 1, and I was in this experience. I never thought about the fact that I was actually in a lighthouse. This was a tower that I was up in. It didn't necessarily feel that way, but being outside of the space and looking up at it, and that's where you are, it's kind of interesting. This is the Vex take on a lighthouse.
Right.
So
beacon.
The thing that got me excited, and I need to apologize, is the big reason I wanted to bring this up. The attention to detail that the art directors and the developers put into this game is second to none. And as salty as I was last week about Destiny and the fact that we haven't been jumping into this game, if we take just the time to go into these environments, and we have one of them behind us even right now, the amount of handcrafted detail that they put into these environments is second to none.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other games out there that do a fantastic job with creating vibrant experiences and very immersive environments. Destiny is at a whole nother level, and I would find it hard for anybody who goes into this game to walk around these environments and feel like a certain level of care and expertise wasn't put into these, because it certainly was from my perspective. And I'm fanboying a little bit now, but there's lots of things that I can complain to Bungie.
Now.
Yeah, there's lots of things that I can complain to Bungie, and I've done it on the show. Last week was very salty coming from me. One thing that I need to give them their fair dues is they did a fantastic job in the assets that they built for this game, the environments and the experience. I think what highlighted it more for me this week was I watched a lot of Warframe gameplay. I haven't jumped in and started playing Warframe, but Hefty Flounder, my wife, she has been. And I look at those experiences and the assets that are created, and it's a game that gets compared to Destiny a lot. And it's not there, right? It's not at the same level as what we experience in a Bungie game and what we've seen in Destiny 2.
Right.
So I want to talk about those assets a little bit and that attention to detail that's so fantastic, because the developers and Deej mentioned something on the stream that confused me deeply, right? They said that the Infinite Forest is going to provide an infinite number of unique experiences when you go into that experience, right? And Deej posed the question, okay, so it's going to be different every time that you go in terms of puzzles and enemies and things that you need to do. Does that mean that it's procedurally generated? His words. And the developer said, absolutely not. These are, just like every Bungie experience, these are handcrafted and tailored for you as the gamer to experience something that we want you to experience, from every detail. So explain to me, guys, how can you have an infinite number of unique handcrafted experiences?
So, do you mind if I start on this one, Mark?
No, go right ahead.
Because before we started, we talked just a little bit about there, and I'm calling it the the Star Tours system.
Okay.
So if anyone has been to Disney World or Disneyland, one of the best rides that you could possibly ride on is Star Tours, which is based on Star Wars, and you sit in the Millennium. You're not in the Millennium Falcon, but you're in like a transport ship. And what Disney does is they have several different scenarios. So they have many scenarios, and they can play out in any number of order. So theoretically, every ride that you go on is different. So they're not procedurally generated, so they're not completely brand new every time. They're segments. So that's what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is that they have like, this segment, this segment, this segment, and this segment that can all fit, independent of each other. And they have so many in there that while it's not procedurally generated, which means like the software is doing all the work and completely generating a new instance every time, they're taking these assets, fitting them together like just like a really cool puzzle piece, and that's what you're getting. And there's so many individual different options for that the odds of you getting the same one over and over again are going to be like infinitesimal. So that's what my take is on it. So because that's going to be different. So procedurally generated ones, specifically like a computer is generating the entire environment. Whereas something like that, while it is generated, it's not procedurally generated. It's going to be a mishmash of already generated
tiles. Yeah, tiles. That's the way I think of it as well. Like, but the thing is, using the word infinite, like, this is why Bungie is so paranoid of using any words, like, and they're so careful, and why Deej is such a professional about what he says, is that like literally the community will hold him, accountable for saying the word infinite, and some math nerd will like get up and like, actually, there's only 12 million possibilities in this scenario. So like I think what they mean, and I think Onsen just said this in chat, parts put together at random, not infinite, just a large number, of random combinations, which I could see that. And I think, so I've played Warframe, right? And all the levels are procedurally generated, and you're running through, and the reason I think they're avoiding the phrase procedurally generated is so like you're playing a level of a video game and you get lost. When's the last time that's happened to you? You get lost. Like you're like, oh crap, like now what? Like, and I'm gonna have to now find my way. Right. It doesn't happen that much anymore in a Bungie game. Right. That does, like, and there's waypoints and stuff in a Warframe game. Like and I haven't played it since like year 2 of Warframe either. So, but like you get lost sometimes. Right. Like even with waypoints and stuff, like the map is like so weirdly not feng shui that you're like, what in the heck? Like, this is not normal. Like, it doesn't flow. You don't feel like you're kind of like flowing through the map, and the fights sometimes are not satisfying. They're like, wow, the enemy has like a terrible disadvantage here, or they have like a terrible advantage, which sounds exciting, but like in reality, it just doesn't feel good. Like there's a whole lot of like, ooh, feels bad, man, in Warframe, or there was at the beginning of the game. A lot of people are saying that it's better now, and I have downloaded it and I will try it just before the Curse of Osiris comes out, so I can kind of like report back on that. But yeah, so I think they're avoiding it because sometimes procedurally generated feels lazy for a game designer. But my guess is that there will be tiles, and even if you look at the way Vex stuff can be designed, like there's like, think of a jumping puzzle in the Vault of Glass. Even like it feels okay for like solid rock to like just appear, right, and for it to then be solid and run on, and then you run across that. Imagine that there's like like an open plane, and there's like all these solid rock things appearing that you then fight on or have an objective on. And then one appears. Like, you could say it was infinite if even they're not set in a tile set or like a grid, and like, okay, like, well, now our objective is actually now like, it's like 10 stories up, but we're just going to do a jumping puzzle to get there. But when we get there, it's going to be a designed and beautifully made battleground that we're going to have fun fighting on. And it's still that way. It could literally be infinite. You know what I mean? Like you could literally say it is infinite. Like even if it's like, well, it's 9.5 stories now. Okay, it's 10 stories now. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you could say it was infinite if you didn't grid it out that way. And there was just different ways to reach those platforms. Or you have to fight and open a portal to get to the next platform or whatever. They could change it in all these different ways. I'm super excited about it. Like I'm totally in on that kind of a thing. And I think I mentioned on the last episode how much I liked ODST's Firefight, which was, Bungie made that. Like that was before they left. Like that, I'm like super, super excited about it. But yeah, to answer your question, Gray, I think that's the only way that I can think of. And I didn't even think of that before the show. I've just now thought of that. That's the only way I could think of it. They could say it is not procedurally generated. It would be at that point, it would be procedurally placed. Like the platforms and the pre-made, really, really intricately designed battlefields are procedurally placed in the environment, but they are not procedurally, it's not procedurally generated. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and I think that we're going to come back around. If this is going to be successful or if it's going to fail, I think it's going to depend on how repetitive those tiles appear to the end user, right? The end result, right? The reason why procedurally generated games, the positive to it is that you go in to any experience and it could be literally anything because the algorithm is going to generate it for you. Right. The downside is if your algorithm is too simple, the player picks up on the pattern. And even if it is unique and different, they know what the algorithm is generating, that it doesn't matter because it's no longer, I think No Man's Sky is the best example of this, right? It's no longer just like wavy blue grass, across this rolling plain. This is an asset that's being pulled from a database to get loaded in here because there needs to be some kind of ground cover. And regardless of where you are, the function of it is going to be the same each and every time. And that's where I think they need to be very careful if they move this direction. And so there are two big games that I know of that do procedurally generated experience are Warframe and No Man's Sky. Very different games. The biggest thing is, what are you letting the algorithm create and what does it function? And I'm fine if Bungie threw procedurally generated experience in their games. Just they got to do it better than the standard that's out there. Make it varied enough and complicated enough that we as players aren't going to pick up on the assets that are being repeated, the function of those assets that are being repeated. That's the problem with No Man's Sky. You fly into a planet, you got to get X amount of resources to complete whatever task you're trying to complete just so you can get to the next planet. And it's the same cycle over and over again. We play this game and we run through these strikes mindlessly because we've just memorized them to the point where they're in the back of our head. The benefit here where Bungie could really win is to go in and say, I'm going to do the procedurally generated strike list, whatever you want to call it, knowing that, okay, maybe it's not going to be handcrafted, but they've done an excellent job. You say tiles, I just call it assets, right? A tile is just an asset or a group of assets that have been compiled together. Well, write your algorithm so that it compiles those assets in a way that's better than the standard out there, and let it do. I know you can't. This is where it gets tough and where I don't want to insult the Bungie developers to say that you can let an algorithm create a similar experience of what you've handcrafted. That's not the case. And my expectation of going into, say, a normal strike playlist that you've handcrafted, I'm looking for a different experience than if I go into your whatever game mode that this is going to be where the Infinite Forest plays in. I know that I'm asking for a slightly less handcrafted experience for the benefit of having randomness, having something different in that experience. It might not be as good, and I'll concede that. As long as I get the benefit of this, being unique, being something that I know it's going to be different every time. The only way I think that Bungie wins on this is because it's one aspect of their game. It's not the whole game. That's where No Man's Sky, you only get that. Warframe, you're only going to get that. If Bungie could strike a balance between both, where you have your missions, your campaign, your strikes, even your
PvP.
PvP maps, right? All that is handcrafted experiences. And then they have some component in the game which is procedurally generated. I know this fire team, we would decide, hey, let's go see what craziness happens when we jump into the Infinite Forest. And we know it's going to be procedurally generated. Bungie is smart enough. I know they got the skill to put those tiles together in such a way that we can trust that we're not going to pick up on the patterns. Right. And we can go in and we can have a great time with the randomness that it creates.
Yeah, and Onson's bringing out that it's probably still going to look great because it's handcrafted. The tiles will be handcrafted. And I agree. I think they're going to do a good job with it. But what Gray is worried about, think back to Prison of Elders, right? Like there was... At the beginning of playing Prison of Elders, for the first couple of weeks, man, did it feel different, right? Every time it felt different. But then it was like, oh, well, now it's this boss, and this is how we handle this boss. So we just do this.
And then it turned into we would just like kill everything in the dome right away.
Yeah, and it was just it became like a strike that lasted a little longer. I always enjoyed it.
It was still fun though.
Yeah, I had a great time. What Gray is saying, I think, is that he hopes that they make it more complex to the point where we couldn't figure out what was going to happen next. I think one way they could do that is by locking loadouts, which is something they've set a precedent for in Destiny 2 already. They could lock your loadout to the point where, oh my gosh, well, I'd love to pull out a sword right now. I know you don't like that, but I'd love to pull out a sword right now. It would be perfect. But I can't because my loadout is locked with this rocket launcher. Thumbs down from Unilala for the audio listeners. So, they could do different things, though. They could do different things.
What did they do with Prison of Elders? The main thing was you had like these 7 or 8 bosses at the end. And then you just, okay, this week it's these 3 bosses. Next week it's these 3 bosses. That's where I'm worried about their infinite experiences. What if there's... maybe this is the way to pose the question. If it is tiles, and each tile is going to have one big variable is, well, what's the race of the enemy, right? That could be a variable on any given tile. This tile is Taken now. This tile is Cabal now. This tile, they could change that, have it be the same actual experience, whatever puzzle that you're trying to accomplish. That could be one variable. How many tiles would they have to put in that you wouldn't start picking up and saying, oh, it's this tile again. Oh, we're doing this tile again.
It would have to be a lot, but they're doing a lot with present and past and future and lush and like dark and like all of these different feels. But if it's not different enough, I see what you're saying.
If that's just like, okay, so they have the geometry of the environment and then it's just a texture skin over it, right? Here's the texture skin for future. Dark, what did they call it? It was the dark future. And then here's the lush past. If it's just textures over that tile, again, that creates more experiences, quote unquote, that are handcrafted. But I think it's the tile and the puzzle itself that you're accomplishing, regardless of the texture over it, regardless of the enemy's race that you're fighting. I mean, I think they would have to have, I would want 100 tiles.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I don't expect anything but Vex. To be quite honest, this is supposed to be a construct by the Vex.
Here's the thing. So, and this is where it opens up to other races. We're not actually on Mercury. We're in this. We're in a Vex simulation. Mm-hmm. So it could be anything.
It could. You know what?
It's a Vex simulation of reality as it can tell.
Possible realities.
So it could be anything.
Oh, I wonder if they would. Okay, so like, imagine,
we could see Oryx in there.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, what if we go onto a tile and it's like the bridge encounter from Crota? I would be so pumped because that was my favorite thing in Destiny 1.
You're gonna get a lot of people really excited here, Mark.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like, it could be anything, like you said. So all right, well, okay, I agree, but I agree. There needs to be enough variation in enemies. Okay, but this is also the thing, right? Like the firefight that I played for ODST and fell in love with games again over didn't have nearly that much, variation, but the difficulty was correct. And the power weapon balance was correct. And everything else was done so correctly that, it was a replayable experience, right? Mm-hmm. And what I hope doesn't happen with this is that their hype train is more effective than the final product, which you got to say Bungie is really great at a hype train, like really great at it.
All aboard.
So like okay, 3, 2, 1, shoot. So like great,
Gray is not
in on our hype train, but yeah. So like what I think Prison of Elders was there, right? They built the hype train for that. Oh man, we're gonna have so many different encounters, and then really the environments were a little small, but you know what? They've made the Prison of Elders. They've gotten feedback. They've listened from what happened with that specifically, right? So my hope is that it's going to be different. But I will say this: I'm resting. So like this is my kind of thing, right? Like I love a horde mode. I love a replayable 3-player or whatever content where you can go in and it's similar and you can. There's strategy to it, but you can also kind of relax a little bit and just like you're killing enemies, but you're not. It's like sometimes the raids that are very mechanic heavy feel like doing long division with your friends rather than playing games with your friends. So I'm really excited about this expansion.
Yeah,
and
I'm excited to see what they come.
I'm trying not to get too hype trained about it, for sure.
Yeah. It's not what I expected. And so I'm very curious to see. I'd love Bungie to just say they're going to do something that is based on an algorithm and is going to generally be unique for a small part of the game, one activity, and show us the Bungie magic that you can do on executing on that. Like, don't be afraid of it. It seems like when they talk about procedurally generated, like they're saying a bad word. We don't use a word in the office. And granted,
it did seem that way.
Yeah, like granted, the games that currently use procedurally generated content aren't as good. Handcrafted is better. Your developers are better. So find a happy medium between the two. That one thing that your handcrafted experience cannot satiate, that procedurally generated can, is hunger for content. Right? Yeah. If there's truly infinite content, if you want to go in and have a different experience, the biggest thing is we as users, we as consumers of that content, we just can't be able to pick up on the patterns. If we pick up on the patterns, and we as humans, right, that's what we do. We pick up on patterns better than any other species. So you got to be really darn good at it. And I believe they could pull that off.
I hope they can. Well, and Onsen says because they don't want to be No Man's Sky, they don't want to be Warframe, they don't want to be these other. Procedurally generated has a pretty negative connotation, and they're trying to avoid that. But I know what you're saying. It's like, well, let's call it what it is. If that is what it is, like let's just, instead of saying that's not what it is, let's say we've taken and Bungified that procedurally generated game, and we've made it we've elevated it to, because let's face it, they changed the face of shooters with Halo. They've they changed the face of like they basically invented the FPS MMO with Destiny, like or the shooter looter with Destiny. They invented it. Like, we've got faith that you can say to me, this is Bungie's take on procedurally generated, and I'm going to be all aboard on that. Yep. Just me this time.
I'm not doing it again.
So that's the my segment for the week, GGs, and it was another fantastic show. I think, guys, we are a little, we're getting long on our episodes, but that's not the worst thing in the world.
We like to talk.
Yeah.
Well, this is what happens when we don't get together multiple times a week, because then we find the stuff that we would normally talk in our normal chats just like spread out over the show.
Yeah.
Because we haven't gotten together, the three of us, since last week.
Yep.
Which is odd for us.
Yeah. Yep.
I think we had some good winners this show, which, we're trying to do that each week. I think one is, Mark wants to marry Claptrap, and he talked about his personal buzzer on the show.
Yeah, it got really personal. I felt very
I think we embarrassed them a little bit.
Yeah. Gosh. It's a little hot in here.
Yeah.
Ooh,
do you guys have any final shout outs before we call it wraps?
Ooh, can I do a shout out?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to shout out to the guys over at DTP Dad Tales Podcast. So I started listening to them a couple of weeks ago when Mark was on, and I can say that consistently every week they have me in stitches.
Big time.
Driving to or from work. Like, consistently. Like, they're amazing. So totally go check those guys out. They're so funny.
Yeah, great show. Just super, consistently entertaining every single week. Yeah, and they play games together and everything. It's a great show. Yeah,
and they've been
Justin.
really friendly to us too, and very positive. They always try to promote our content, and they listen to our show. So those hosts, we play with them actually on a fairly regular basis, and we do appreciate their support, and in turn we want to support their product because it is fantastic and deserves it.
Yep. They're hilarious.
Absolutely. And I think shout out to Bungie for the reveal today. I'd like to really can't wait for the next reveal. Like, we got 2 more to go before the content comes out. Yay. I'm excited. So
The sound tunes just be like,
yay. You can't see this,
like,
but I'm smiling.
And I also want to thank Bungie for the stream. It's the first time that I've been back and just really excited about hopping into the game. I had a great time raiding with our Tuesday night group, and thinking about this expansion that's coming out gets me excited. And it feels good to be excited about a game again. That anticipation is part of what makes it exciting to be a gamer, and I really enjoy that. So I appreciate that. And then, I want to shout out to my fire team here on the show, because guys, it's going to be time to assemble here in just a few short weeks. Fire team December 5th, we'll get back together and we're going to knock out and enjoy this new content. So,
no! There we go.
Nope. We killed it. We killed it with
our guns.
Yeah, gun show.
So definitely would like to thank everybody who came into the chats. Thank you for all the hosts, Planet Destiny and Mark Square, and we're on the GandH show on Twitch as well. Check out our YouTube page. If you have feedback for the show, it's GandHFeedback. We're on iTunes, Podcast, Stitcher. This was episode 16, and we're going strong. So thank you, everybody.
It's our Speed 16 last.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you can't catch the live show, then you can find the replays on the Grenades and Horseshoes YouTube channel. If you'd like to stay connected to the community during the week, you can reach us at our show Twitter handle @GandHShow, or at our individual handles @MarkSquare_, @GreyGhost2E, and @Unalala. We're also open to any ideas you may have, or seeing any clips that you would like to send in. Please send the feedback to GandHFeedback@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.